مشرقا وهدى من الرحمن يهدينا به للصالحات وللمكارم والتقى. هذا كتاب الله أعذب منهل أنعم به.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the 11th part of this series, where we are looking at the explanation of the 40 hadith pertaining to the virtues and the rulings of the Qur'an. In this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Al-Qur'anu shafi'un mushaffa'. That the Qur'an, it is an intercessor that will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa mahilun musaddaq. And it is an adversary that will be believed in. Man ja'alahu amamahu qadahu ila al-jannati. That whoever places the Qur'an in front of him, he will lead him to paradise. وَمَنْ جَعَلَهُ خَلْفَ ظَهْرِهِ ثَاقَهُ إِلَى النَّارِ. And the one who places it behind his back, then he will push him to the hellfire. And this authentic hadith reported in At-Tabarani. So the hadith begins by saying, Al-Qur'an shafi'un mushaffa'. That this is the Qur'an will intercede on behalf of those who are close to the Qur'an. Now, what does this mean? How will the Qur'an intercede? The Qur'an is a book. Its word is kalimat. How will it intercede? Some scholars, they explain this by saying the Qur'an will take on a physical form on the Day of Judgment, and it will argue on your behalf, and it will intercede for those who used to recite it on a daily and nightly, and they reflect upon its meanings and try to act upon its teachings. And not just that, is shafi', but is mushaffa', meaning it will be accepted as an interceder. But it's also mahilun musaddaq. Mahil meaning is an adversary. It could be an enemy to you on the Day of Judgment. It could be someone who will argue against you. And when the Qur'an argues against you, it is musaddaq. It will be believed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning if you are a person who mistreated the Qur'an, ignored its teachings, then it will be a proof against you on the Day of Judgment. And that is further explained by the last part of the hadith, a beautiful subhanallah. We reflect upon these words, Man ja'alahu amamahu qadahu ila al-jannah. Whoever places the Qur'an in front of him, it will lead him to paradise. Now reflect upon this meaning. Whoever places the Qur'an in front of him, it will lead him to paradise. Meaning that the person allows the Qur'an to guide him. The person allows the Qur'an to guide him. The Qur'an is his leader. Whatever the Qur'an states, he believes that to be the truth. Whatever the Qur'an states to be falsehood, he believes it to be falsehood. So he approaches the Qur'an with a complete blank slate, which is completely free from misconceived or preconceived notions of what is right and what is wrong, what is correct and what is incorrect. He is one of those people who already knows and believes, well, I know what is right and what is wrong, and he goes to the Qur'an to reaffirm what he already believes in. No. Man ja'alahu amamahu. The true person of the Qur'an, he places the Qur'an in front of him. The Qur'an is it is only the Qur'an that guides him in his life. And the person who does that, qadahu ila al-jannah. It will lead him to paradise. وَمَنْ جَعَلَهُ خَلْفَ ظَهْرِهِ. But the one who places it behind him, ساقه إلى النار. That it will only drag him to the fire. It will only push him to the hellfire, because this person feels as though he is in no need of the Qur'an, and so he seeks his guidance from other sources. So what do we learn? What do we take away from this hadith? We should reflect upon our relationship with the Qur'an and ask ourselves the question, do we make the Qur'an the source of our guidance? Do we make the Qur'an the thing that leads us in our lives? Really? Do we make the Qur'an and give it that status? If we find that we seek our guidance from our own sort of initiatives, then we have a problem. We could be amongst those who, subhanAllah, who have placed the Qur'an behind our backs. So let us, inshallah, be amongst those who allow the Qur'an to guide us. And we approach the Qur'an in a state of need, realizing that it is through the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can only be guided. And if we seek our guidance through another source, we will only fall into misguidance, because the hadith says whoever places it behind him, it will lead him to the hellfire. In the next reminder, inshallah, we will speak about how when a person has memorized the Qur'an and has learned the Qur'an, the more he memorizes and the more he understands, his level in paradise will be higher. His level in paradise will be higher. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who place the Qur'an in front of them as their source of guidance, and so that we will be, inshallah, be amongst those who the Qur'an will intercede on our behalf, and the Qur'an will drive us to paradise, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.